We are meeting back in session as Wicomico County Council for legislative session 2022-11, June 7th, 2022. Make sure I get all that right. First item on the agenda for the open work session is the draft 2022 priority letter recommended transportation improvements. We have Mr. Tony Rudy, Airport Manager, and Mr. Mark Whitelock, Deputy Director of Public Works. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Thank you for sticking it out. I will give you the floor, whichever one, and for the public, so the public knows who's who, if you would.
So I'm Mark Whitelock, Deputy Director of Public Works.
Tony Rudy, Airport Manager.
Thank you. You can take the lead, whoever chooses.
I'll start off. I only have one project this year, and this is probably the most important project we have going on at the airport, and that's for our runway extension. So we're asking assistance for funding with that. Hopefully, we can have all of our funding lined up where we can construct this project in one phase to basically make it more or lessen the impacts on our airport users and get this project constructed from start to finish in probably about a year's time. Otherwise, if all of the funding, and we have quite a complex funding plan, if it doesn't all fall into place in the time frame we need, we will probably have to phase this project. So we're moving forward with it right now, and we're in the design phase. That's going along well, and we hope to start construction next year, and any additional funding that the state may provide would be certainly appreciated.
So Public Works has 3 different phases: road facility improvements, planning initiatives, pedestrian improvements. It's not much has changed since last year, or if any has changed since last year. Road and facility improvements would include the relocation of the Route 13 truck scales in Del Mar to a more suitable place that is conducive with the uses for the land in that area. The second is some planning initiatives. These include corridor intersection feasibility studies. One is the Salisbury Bypass feasibility study. This is dealing with the city where the bypass coming off of at Route 13 on the north side by the mall to alleviate the weaving from left to right, according to which way you're going, if you're going to the mall or going to Lowe's or somewhere in there. So that's one feasibility study. Another feasibility study is the Route 50 eastbound and westbound access to the bypass, which have been problematic on both sides of the road, as there has been accidents created there. The next step would be asked for is State Route 12, Snow Hill Road, Nutters Cross Road, intersection safety and traffic signal warrant study. And with the amount of development that's moving out in there, I can't. I believe that that's warranted.
If I could.
Yes.
Yeah, we put this on. We do put this on every year. I've always said that when they put the bypass in, it was almost as an afterthought. The way that they, to me, it just seemed like a rush project. How they've left us with this ingress and egress.
Correct.
I'm amazed that you haven't had more accidents at the center of Salisbury or any one of these intersections. I think everybody that pulls up there gets a little bit nervous having to, cross any traffic with what we have. In regard to the truck weigh station, any feel for how we're going to be dealing with that politically? Because I know it goes up 2 or 3 times, it gets presented, but even though we tell them how important it is, it still gets involved in the political arena where people don't want it.
I know MDOT is doing a study to find another location for that. In my opinion, moving that further towards the north is probably a better location. You can't move it any more south because you're going to be right in the city of Salisbury. So you're pretty much limited to go north. And there's a few parcels in there that still could house that without, being encroaching in on it, residential and commercial development. So I believe there is room there.
Okay, just curious.
So I think that was
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
Just a question on as far as the State Route 12, is that when they do the study, or assuming that happens, does that also include things like traffic circles or others as part of the calculus? I'm thinking a la
I would think it would.
Federalsburg or
Because it deals with deals with a lot of things, line of sight, crash studies, a lot of different data that goes into that. So I don't think that they exclude roundabouts.
And then I don't know the process wise, and I try to, I'm on the Metropolitan Planning Organizations. We try to look at other projects, and what do they come out of the recommendations out of these, or is that?
These are recommendations.
Yeah, and they come up with
This is a study to say, basically, should something be done in this intersection?
to the level of what type of activity, traffic study,
Yes,
or
either roundabout,
or circle. Yeah.
signalization, whatever they feel is appropriate for that.
Cool. Thank you.
So the other we have is pedestrian improvements, and those are all based in, I believe, into the north side of Salisbury, up around Walmart, Naylor Mill, all of those corridors up there where the traffic has gotten really heavy. Some of that is putting in sidewalks, and others is putting in pedestrian crossings with signalization for the pedestrian crossings to make that a little safer in those areas. The other thing, okay, here we go. All right, so then we have the Route 50 Access Management Study for Warwick Community College. This is to alleviate some of the loading that happens on the Walston Switch, south side coming into Route 50, and allow egress only out onto Route 50 for some of those folks. Me personally, I would like to look at some of that signalization issues that they have along that corridor as well. It's not currently in here, but that would be a recommendation for the future.
They have, that intersection's getting busier all the time. And I understand there's going to be a 7-Eleven built at that intersection. We'll also have truck canopies, so it's getting, there's more activity along. I think that's something that the council maybe in the near future maybe want to collaborate with Dr. Hoy at Warwick about some letters to maybe some of our legislators to try to get some action moving on that.
What I see too is, because I live in Joe's district, so I go home that way every day. When I come through and I stop there at Hobbs Road and I'm progressing onto the intersection there at Walston Switch, what happens is, so I'm stopped at Hobbs. When I come up and I go to Walston Switch, the light's actually green, but all the traffic is stopped. And a lot of people get fooled as they're coming up to that they're not watching the traffic as much as they're watching the light. And that's how a lot of rear end accidents are happening.
We're very careful on the east side. We stop for green lights too. We don't stop for red lights, Mark.
Well, what I would particularly like to see that would affect the traffic flow and control some of the speed in that area is when you leave Hobbs Road, if you go to speed limit, you will make it through Walston Switch.
That would be good.
You would make it through Pittsville at 60-foot road. If you vary from the speed limit in those, you will get caught by the light. This is something that the city of Salisbury's looked at as far as moving through town. And I don't necessarily disagree with the idea.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the egress, as far as the egress on 50 from Warwick would be a big help in the intersection itself. I mean, nothing to do with the traffic flow up and now.
right. Well, if you looked at the light is based on tripping from the cameras, as far as the light signalization cycles as they go. If you take some of that traffic away from that intersection, then there's less tripping of the light.
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem at Walston is there's so many turn lanes.
Yeah.
So
There is.
they can't synchronize that light to keep that traffic flowing because it
Correct.
changes so often because of the
But I like I
turn
say,
lane.
I very rarely, I always look when I go home, when I come off the bypass, and I stop at Hobbs.
Because I go that way a lot.
I stop at Walston Switch. I have to stop every single stoplight all the way down. So, so moving on from that, we wanted to look at some drainage improvements on Nanticoke Road. These are long-lasting drainage issues that have been occurring there on the state road that have impacted some of our roads as well in the past. And in my opinion, this is another thing. I'm not sure it actually meets CTP level as much as it does some good old-fashioned surveying and go out there and clean out some ditches. And
I just have a question for you on that one, because I know we talk about this regularly. Is there some type of tax credit for those who have the state ditches on their private property to clean them?
I don't believe so. A lot of those ditches, there were right-of-ways that were put in as property was divided and sold. And then there were easements that were gotten after the fact. There's a whole mixture of things that go on there. So, but the realization is there needs to be some drainage work done on Nanny Cove Road. And lastly, the US 15 or US 50 13 bypass, some of the embankment stabilization that we've seen in the past, and the state has done work in there in the past, but it's gone as far as they did some riprapping of some slopes. The water moved around the riprap and started to erode around the riprap, and basically you're set back with the same problem you had before. And we have multiple other projects. The town of Pittsville is still working with the state to try to do something with the flooding on Pittsville-Gumbel Road. The town of Willards is still wanting the state to accept. They are still wanting them to accept, correct, Joe? Bent Pine Road.
Sorry.
And the city of Salisbury has a whole host of projects. Two of the new ones for the city of Salisbury, though, are roundabouts based at, they wanted to base a roundabout at Jersey and Naylor Mill. And another, I believe, I'm not sure the name of the street, the one right behind Lowe's and Naylor Mill, to have another roundabout there.
It mentioned on the Town of Hebron, a Rail to Trail initiative. Didn't we try that a few years back, and the residents really got into an uproar because they didn't want people?
It was Mardella, I think.
Was that Mardella?
I thought I heard a little bit out of Hebron too, that people didn't want people walking through
They're
their
not too happy
backyards.
about that. Yeah.
A lot of them have like horses and other animals, and they don't want people, strangers, walking through there and stopping and look at their
Right.
animals.
So I'm assuming that Hebron had their own public hearings and went through their.
I suspect so.
Yeah.
And based on, we were having a discussion earlier, they don't send representatives to this meeting to explain the things that they want, so. And that's just about, I believe, just about the total amount of it.
Okay. Any questions? Where's the process go from here, Ms. Hurley?
This would come back to council in a resolution form for approval.
Okay.
And do we meet with the secretary at some point?
We do. I believe we have an annual dinner.
When is the dinner?
In the fall.
In the
Yeah,
fall.
It's in the
like
fall.
around October, November.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
No particular time restraints right now? We're not under any emergency?
This is rushed a little bit. This is running late. This is.
It's what?
This is running a little late,
Okay,
but nothing else.
okay. All right, I can't see where we have much else to amend or to change, so.
I'm good.
All right, any other comments?
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate you being here. Next item on the agenda is the review of the Charter Review Committee recommendations, trying to finalize this tonight. We could try to keep it quick, especially due to the time. You have been, had the opportunity to review this. Ms. Hurley emailed it to everyone well ahead of time so that we could sort of expedite this tonight. What I think we will do is, there are several amendments before us, 24 to be exact. And to begin with, I would think what we would want to do is to move towards the recommendations, the amendments that were recommended by, it's not Bolton?
Lindsay Rader.
Lindsay Rader, yeah, I'm sorry, by Lindsay Rader, because we pretty much know those are necessary.
They're important.
We don't have any choice. So If you could, Mr. Wilbur, start us off in that direction. We want to go from the ones that I think you have. Mrs. Hurley, do you have a sheet where it's referencing the highest priority?
Yes,
It's
so
on the
what
board,
is
okay.
on the screen behind me is what is in your brief book, but it has a ranking of low, medium, and high, and that's just based on a conversation I had with Mr. Wilbur, and just thinking it through as far as what we thought was best for the government operations of the county. And so you are absolutely correct. We ranked Lindsay Raiders, our bond counsel, as the highest priority. And she starts on it's Article 3, Section 306. That would be a recommendation from Lindsay, and we have suggested that would be a high priority.
Let me ask council ahead of time. Would everyone be in agreement that whatever was recommended by Lindsay Rader, that we should move forward with the recommendation of Mrs. Hurley and Mr. Wilbur to accept these and have them on the ballot?
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody's okay with that? All right, we'll cut to the chase. We can knock those out right now.
Yep.
I think the trick is going to be to count how many we're adding up here to see where we end up. So we have those out. Anything that's in reference to that recommendation. So now we would skip from that to what other items, suggested amendments, are of the highest priority. And we'll go in chronological order.
Okay, so next, after looking at Lindsay's,
Amendment 4?
it would be Section 408, that censure removal of the county executive from office. And we decided that was a high priority because there was such emphasis put on the charter not having any teeth if there was a violation of the charter. So this was a way to correct that.
Again, you're referring to what, Amendment 7?
This is Amendment 7.
Amendment 7. So what is being done there, and is the word censure is being added to the title?
Yes,
And then below that, we've added a section B
right.
stating that the county executive may be censured by an affirmative vote of at least 5 members of the county council for actions which are repeated substantial violations of the charter.
Correct.
Discussion.
Makes sense. I'm good with it.
Okay. All right, then we'll put Amendment 7, consider Amendment 7 as something we will approve. Do you want to go back up to the top where I believe the first one is number 4, Amendment number 4?
Before we leave that, didn't we, I'm just trying to do this from memory, but because we did that for the executive, didn't we do the same thing for the
Yes.
council?
Yes, there's identical provision in the
right.
council.
So
That's in this next one, Bill, Amendment 4.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
like I say, yeah, so
Yeah,
we
you're right.
jump to that, because obviously, if we do the one, we got to do the other.
So Amendment 4 is the same thing. It's a high priority. Section A, we add the title of committees and quorum, and below that, we're putting in there, or electronically present with the approval of the council president due to extenuating circumstances. This is the power to create standing committees. The second part of it is B, censure. A county council person may be censured by an affirmative vote of at least 5 members of the county council. So there's your consistency
new
between
B,
the
yeah.
executive, legislative form of government. And actually, that would only, it's not as if that would be an additional amendment. The two are sort of combined as one, right, Mr. Wilbur?
That's my plan.
It would be A and B.
So I
Yes.
know we discussed this, but censuring, what is that really going to do? I mean, you're going to censure them, you're going to reprimand them, but
That's what it is.
they don't
right
have to
there.
change their action, they don't have to,
Right,
I mean, we still have to go through the same process.
right. It's a public reprimand.
We can do that anyway. This doesn't have to
We
be,
do it anyway.
this doesn't have, you can do a vote of no confidence or a public reprimand. I mean, why put this?
Yeah, I don't understand why we're putting it in there.
Well, we're not a parliament. We can't do a vote of no confidence, but we can. This is, I guess, this would make the most sense, and this is most widely accepted. Most other branch or other governments do this, but yeah, it's still.
Keep in mind, this is part of the reason, Mr. Wilbur didn't just put this on here. This is part of what the council recommended
Yeah,
during
we
its
had
work
that
session.
discussion, yeah.
So,
I opposed it before, I still oppose it. I think that's why we have elections and can
The amount
say to them.
the amount of questions we want to put on this, you know, we've got to come down to what's most important.
Well,
I mean, you don't want to put 20-some questions on there.
Have we
Well, you know what?
decided how many?
actually, I get, you know, my thoughts on that is, look, I mean, we're going to have a bunch of them on here. Does it matter? I mean, what's it matter? Once you have 12, 15, I mean, that point, 20,
What's the difference between 15 and 20?
it's right, yeah, what's the difference? Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to have 3 or 4, but when you get to 10 and 12, I mean, at that point, I mean, yeah, well, 15, what's the difference? You know, 20, what's the difference? It's a bunch. So,
And I fully understand what Councilman Ackley is saying, because that was my first response too, when you're talking about censuring, you know, what's it going to do? But I think the reason it's on here is because Mr. Wilbur was trying to address our frustration that we had at one point in time where there were violations that were occurring and we didn't have any substantial way of addressing it. Mr. Wilbur, would you say a censure is like a very important first step if we eventually would have to go to court?
Yes, yes. Actually, I think if the council went to court, it would be helpful to the council's case to have censured, and then you're to the writ of mandamus stage, which is courtroom. Hopefully, we don't get into that scenario.
Do you have
very
to have
often.
an amendment to censure? I mean, a referendum to censure. Do you have to do this to censure? You can't just censure without this.
I think there needs to be the ability
Okay.
given.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So that gets back to, again, I think 7 was the genesis for this, and going to Amendment 4, that just simply is making it a fair balance between both, the executive and legislative form of government, if needed. Simply for clarification. I fully understand what some of the reservations are. So are we okay? We were okay with 7. Are we okay with Amendment 4?
Yes.
yes.
Yes, Larry, Joe? Okay. The next high priority is, let me see. Getting there. Okay, it would be actually Amendment 12. I think it's a high priority. We're adding the Department of Aviation to our department as one of our departments. I think we're recognizing the fact that it's good to put the airport in as a formal department head. We kind of did that when a few years ago we took the teeth, we passed, I don't know if it was a resolution or legislative bill that gave the county governing body authority over the commission.
Got rid of the commission.
Yeah, we got rid of the commission's authority to that extent. So this is an extension of that. What's the opinion of the council on Amendment 12?
I'm okay.
Sounds good.
Everybody good?
Yeah.
Okay. Amendment 16 is the next one. That's a high priority, and that is upon the recommendation of the county executive, the council shall establish a personnel system which shall have the force of law. To get to cut to the chase on this, I believe this is where we're trying to revert the personnel system back to the executive branch.
That's correct. The recommendation comes forward from the executive branch
Yes.
and is approved by the council, which was the prior process.
Understood. Is everyone okay with this?
Yes.
That's good.
Okay. Then we have Amendment 17, prohibition against additional compensation. This was the clarification that was, I think, Mr. Wilbur, you felt was necessary in order, because the county executive shouldn't have been included in that terminology whatsoever, right?
Right. That's what we did with that one. Right.
That one, there was a lot of discussion on the Charter Review Committee about whether the county executive should devote his full-time duties to the office of the county executive.
Right. Okay. Everybody okay with Amendment 17? All right. The next high priority is Amendment 18. It is in reference to the capital program and budget. What's being added here is that
The Lindsay Rader recommendation.
This is a Raider one.
this is a Raider one. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we're good with that. 19. Striking the terminology, any barring. That sounds like a Raider one too. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then 20, I'm assuming that may be the same as well.
Yes.
That is as well.
The 700 ones were all Lindsay Rader. Yep.
And so by adding just the word by resolution, that's,
Oh, that's
we're
good.
going to throw it on there? Because that would be all, that would also be, 20 and 21 would be the same.
Yep.
And 22 is also, and 23, correct? Those are all Lindsay Rader.
Now, Paul, when like
And-
these are on the ballot, are we able to categorize them? Just, you know, like all these bond issues, are we able like to do a category saying, you know, these are, and then list those?
Well, the steps will be, there's going to be a very large newspaper advertisement. It will have the ballot question and the full text of the charter.
Right.
So that's run 5 times. Huge advertisement. Then on the ballot, when they go to vote, it's just the ballot question, which will be much tighter and
Right.
shorter.
And my question is, but are you able to categorize for example, you know, these following 10 questions as what, you know, would it have like, you know, bond issuance, and then there's these 10 questions. So people know these are all bond related, or does it just happen to do that, which I think you're getting ready to say, because it falls in numerical order anyhow?
Right. What I thought was to perhaps title it with, say, every section 701, you know, that's budgetary and bond.
Right.
You know, say, put a header there, and then here's your ballot question, here's your amendment ballot question.
Under
here's
that
your
title
amendment.
of those items.
Yeah.
Those type of items.
The idea by state law is that with a large newspaper advertisement, the public is made aware of all the detail. And then when they go, they're supposed to be educated, and then they go into the ballot or into the voting booth, and
Yeah.
they just have the
Everybody
summaries.
will read all of that.
I'm sure.
Yep, I'm certain.
What's a newspaper? What's a newspaper? Bad joke.
They'll read it online or in print.
Okay, so I think we've gotten through the full body of the text in reference to all the high priorities and made decisions on that. The next, going back to Amendment 2, which is going back to the top on the first page, that is the first medium priority. That's in reference to vacancies, where the terminology replaces the word shall with may.
Which amendment is this?
This is Amendment number 2.
Gotcha.
But further, yeah, Laura, yeah.
Yeah, council can propose all 24 amendments if you want, but there is a cost. The more charter amendments you do, you have to advertise everything in the newspaper, and it's not just 1 or 2 weeks, it's several weeks that you have to advertise it, so that's an expense. And then, of course, it can be overwhelming for the citizens when they go into the ballot box to have 24 amendments. So we prioritized it with the high, medium, and low. I believe with the number of high, we came up with 12 or 13, if you were to just select the high ones. So
Didn't 2018, we limited it to like 10
You had this many.
because of the same reasons you spoke of?
I think it was like 3 or 4. I don't know if we ever got
It
to.
wasn't that many at all. I don't even know if we went to 10,
No, I don't think so.
but we cut a lot back.
You can do this on the ballot every election, right? I mean, in
Yes.
2024, you can have, okay.
We could do more in 2 years if we want.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
It might even be, you know, better because then you're doing it in an off year for council members,
Right.
you know, and county executive member, you know, it's not as, doesn't get as convoluted, I guess, you know.
True.
So we have how many? 4, how many did you say we have?
if you were to just move forward the high priority ones, I
We
believe it
just-
was 13 of them.
Okay, so we just decided that all the high priority ones were going to stay. So we have 13 right now.
Yep.
Yeah, let's keep going, because I mean, there's some things on it, you got medium, in my book, they're high.
Okay,
So-
yeah, Amendment 2.
That's why we're doing this.
Amendment 2 in reference to
I
vacancies.
don't think our wording's right in A.
Time limit, the May.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not right. The issue is where we say the expiration of the term, therefore, may be filled, no, that still shall be filled.
It's the second sentence.
The may is the election by majority vote thereof from the list of 4 persons. That's where the may is, that we may, the intent of that was we didn't have to choose from the 4.
Right.
We may choose from the 4.
Yeah.
Right, that's what's being
Right.
added is the word may.
Yeah, but that's a maybe, is the may in the right place?
Yes, because there were 2 questions, Bill. One was we didn't want to get locked into the 45 days.
Right. Okay, so I'm reading the 45 day at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
keep going. It
So
may be
the
filled.
B addresses what
Right,
Yes,
from
okay.
a list
B
of 4
takes care of-
may.
Right, yeah.
So the council.
right,
can
right, I was
reach
just
out.
focused in on, I did it last time, we did that
Right.
too, but, all right,
You can do your own
Yeah.
list if you want to.
right, okay.
everybody understand that?
But I think that one's important, and I think that one's pretty simple. It's one of the simpler ones for people, I think, at least understand.
What is about, as far as the members, do you want to see Amendment 2? Do you think it's a high enough priority to put on the ballot?
I don't.
Yes.
I think the unaffiliated piece, I mean, that, I think you'd
Do you
have
remember
to
that? Larry, do you remember,
I guess I just wonder,
do you guys remember the trouble we got into?
Can I ask a question on,
Right,
Trying to pick a county executive, we had a 45-day limit,
That was a mess.
and we were in violation. You remember that?
Yeah, I think this is a high priority, none of me.
Right. I
You
can
want,
see that.
everyone wants to include it?
If you'd made up your minds quicker, it wouldn't have been so bad.
We said earlier we were going to put that in.
Pulled out, Joe, kind of ruined everything.
I say keep it.
it doesn't set any time, though.
It doesn't, but it does tell you, it tells you you should try to work within a 45-day time frame.
Yeah, I see that,
But that was, believe me,
but it never has to be filled.
I don't know what other avenues maybe we could do to resolve that problem. Anything else that could make it a little more,
Are you talking about the 45 days?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we looked at that, and I think you might say it's a guide and a directive, but it doesn't mean it can't be filled after that.
maybe filled by a qualified person within 45 days, but no later than 6 months?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at, exactly.
We could say within, person or persons within 90 days after the vacancy, or, just extend the time frame.
I could be
Either
good
one.
with 90 days.
Yeah, well, just remember.
6 months is a
but
long
just
time.
remember, the whole intent of that is, you don't want the county to be without an executive for an extended amount of time. That's what you're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
And this is for two purposes. The word may is for 2 purposes, not only the 45 days, but also to give the council more flexibility in case they want to work beyond what was recommended by the Central Committee. So there's 2 issues for the may. So to Mr. Mitchell's point, do we want to say, keep may there, but then extend, but a term in there within 45 days, no later than what?
Maybe no later than 90, maybe.
We need a consensus here, gentlemen, ladies.
90 sounds good.
I can go with 90.
Okay, so it would be maybe filled by a qualified person within 45 days, no later than 90 days after the vacancy occurs.
All right, let's play that out. Let's say
Okay.
we go to the 91st day, then is it going to be just left vacant after that?
We have to do our job. In 90 days, you have to do your
That's the
job.
same problem, if it's written now, if we go to the 46th day,
I'm going to tell you, I think you, personally, I think you ought to put a 6-month limit on it because it can get complicated.
What if nobody volunteers? What if nobody even puts their name in it? And
What if no one does? Yeah.
That is the
Put your
point.
name in, you're not going to get anybody anyway, but it don't matter how much time you put in it, right?
Acting in there.
There's enough Hastings around, I can find somebody.
I mean, there's, it's just like the situation when I volunteered and then the lawyers found out that I really couldn't volunteer. That could have held it up. And then, so if you got up to the edge of that time limit, you might need more time.
Okay, well, we're going to keep them, I get your point. So we're going to keep the may regardless because we do want that flexibility.
Yes.
We start with a
You
45.
should change yours.
Are we going to end it, as Mr. Mitchell was saying, like no later than? We have to have some finality to it, period. So what do you feel comfortable with? 3 months, 6 months? How long do you feel?
You know,
We'll do 120 then. It's not 6, it's more than 9. So more than 90 days, so do 100. But once again, the whole intent is you don't want the,
That's 4 months. Everybody comfortable with that? No more than 120 days?
So we'll, instead of 45, we'll put
No.
120.
No. I think we need to put in there that you've got to get it together by 45 days. You really want to get it done by 45, but no later than 120.
that makes sense, John, to do it.
Yeah, if you say,
You're just adding words.
All right, so we strike the 45 and put 120. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
120 days.
I'm good with the rest of it as
In this
is.
case, as big as that ad's going to be, words mean money.
It's going to be a big ad.
Still think we need
the
to.
the thing is, if you say May at that point,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's why you need 2 different times. You need maybe 45 days, but no later than 120. You have to keep the may in there. That's true. You have to keep the may.
well, I'm thinking that the May is really in there to deal with the election, how the election goes by the people that are nominated by the parties. You could say shall be filled within no later than 90 days and shall be done and may be selected by these people that are nominated.
that's what I was saying, that,
Yeah.
the beginning.
Well, where are you gonna put it in? It's because it's
Stretch it
one
out.
sentence. It's all one sentence. Well, Mr. Willard, do you understand what we're asking?
Yes,
Right, we have to appoint, so that's, to me, that should be shall.
Okay, so we would like to keep
we could-
shall within 120 days, and then may have the option to choose from the 4 choices.
yeah. It would be majority of vote remaining members thereof, and may be selected from a list of 4 persons.
Right, right.
That's where you want the may.
Yes, great.
And that's more consistent with B. Because B is saying we shall fill that council seat in 30 days, and it may be from the
Yeah,
recommended
exactly.
candidate.
So
So
if
now
it-
they're both saying the same thing, essentially, just
Yes.
a little
So
bit
it's-
different time for executive.
It's not just the people that the central committee send. You're going to open the application process.
Right, if the council wants
If
to.
the council wanted to,
Okay.
right. If there was a 5th person the council wanted to consider, they could do that. They'd have that option if they wanted to. They don't have to do it. It just leaves that door open.
And say for an unaffiliated council member, you're not going to have any recommendation from a party. It's just going to be the council's going to put a request out for people.
We talked about all that, so I like what we did. It keeps the 2, A and B, consistent.
Okay. You clear with that, Mr. Wilbur?
Yes.
It's a long way to get there, but I think it was all important. Can 2 and 3 be combined? I don't know why they wouldn't, because we're just striking 3.
It's a separate,
I'll leave that up to you.
it's a separate item though, so it's got to be separate amendment.
You're talking about the more than 3 vacancy, B?
No, I'm talking about amendment, I'm talking about
Oh.
amendment 3.
Special election.
Okay. We did away with that.
Right.
All right. So is that an important charter amendment for council members? Striking amendment 3?
Yeah. Sure enough.
We good?
Yep.
All right. We'll go in chronological order. Amendment 8 was established as a low priority. The Director of Administration, Section 412, Director of Administration. That is striking prior to assuming the duties of the office and adding within 6 months of the appointment.
I don't have any strong feelings. If we wanted to put that on 4 years from now, I think that would be,
We could do it 2 years from now.
or 2 years from now, yeah, good point.
Everybody okay with striking it?
Yep.
For now? Please keep these, keep notes that we bring these back in 2 years for whoever may be here.
Laura? Yeah.
The next one is amendment number 9. It's also considered a low priority, striking the term within 6 months after each election for a county executive. Talking about appointing director of administration, assistant director of administration. And then it says, after each election for county executive, only a director of administration, new assistant director of administration and new department heads or deputy department directors shall be subject to council confirmation. This is, as you remember, was put in there so that when we transitioned every year, that if it was to be the same executive could maintain continuity and everybody wouldn't have to worry every 4 years about losing their job. That's why we put this in here.
Low priority, right?
Well, it's not necessarily a low priority as the council decided, but it was just something in review from Mr. Wilbur and Mrs. Hurley that they thought it might be a low priority.
We did hear from some administration folks that basically saying this is another reason they pointed to why we can't fill some positions, is that it adds that level of feeling like there's, politics involved in things. So if we had this in place, it would make these individuals feel more comfortable, I think.
The negative side of that is you might have 100 employees running around campaigning for the county executive.
Keep their job.
It's not that we didn't think it was important, it was just because of some of the other proposed charter amendments, we just thought that this one
Higher.
was, yeah.
Laura and I were focused on government operations.
I know, but I said the other side.
I hear you.
And that's a good point.
I'm okay with keeping it in, personally, but
I'm okay with cutting it and letting it go to the next election.
I think it's important. I think it's important for continuity.
I mean, they're all at-will employees, so they can be let go at any time, correct?
Correct.
So,
But after every election cycle, they have to not only go through the executive, but they have to go through the members of the council as well, which is a little bit different than if the executive decides at will to let somebody go. I think the attempt of this, is to avoid some of the politics that gets involved with the change and transition of a body of government.
we want folks that are in these positions to feel confident that they don't have to worry about politics, and this is just a step to help make that happen.
Yeah, it still doesn't remove the executive's ability to say, I want somebody different.
yeah.
But it does limit the county council's ability to have retribution if there was a political.
It does.
So keep it, or do you want to keep it in or let it go?
Let it go.
Let it go.
Keep it
Let
in.
it go.
Let it go till next election. Just my thought.
Okay, keep it in, but I'm not gonna throw myself on the sword, but I'd keep it in. If I gotta pick.
I'd like to see us keep it in, so we need to take a vote here. Ernie, what do you want to do? You want to keep it in or we rid of it?
Everybody harps on that they can, it's an at-will job. I mean, any job you got is at will. Anybody can get fired at any time. Doesn't matter who's the person is. And my thing is, if you're here and doing a good job, you shouldn't have to worry about getting fired.
Can I make a point? We do have certain employees, you are correct, that are at will, but we do have other employees that have the grievance process. So that gives them a little bit more protection. I think the ones that are mentioned in this particular section would be the at-will ones, though.
The real question is whether the council, as a body tonight, feels that they would like to continue to have the authority to decide what department heads stay on after, let's say, this coming November, or allowing a new council to come in and make that decision as to whether or not they're going to allow the department head to stay or go, or whether that will remain with the authority of the county executive.
He's got to work with them every day.
I'd say take this out for now with all the other.
Executive.
The way it is right now is that the county council does have that authority and maintains that authority. All right. Nicole, what did you say?
I was fine with leaving it in, but I mean, I don't have a really strong position on it that I.
Let's look at the positive and negatives of this. If you've got a new county executive coming in, they're going to bring to us the people they want to put in, right? Mm-hmm. So what's the negative about it? you know, they're gonna, you know,
What if it's the same executive?
pardon me?
What if it's the same executive?
It's fine. Still bring them to us. It's his team.
Well, understood. I guess the idea here is that, so you have people that have been working for the full 4 years, and you got, at the end of that 4 years, you got to go back to the council and say, okay, do you still want to keep these people?
That's checks and balances, John.
We had an issue with an employee that was a problem for many employees in the county there, and then it was because of us, we were able to move this forward.
Remember, after we first got elected in '06, the issue we had with, and that wasn't anything to do with a county employee, but it was another employee.
Laura, was that the commission's recommendation, or was that our, did we come up with that language?
I believe it came from the Charter Review Commission.
I think it did, charter review. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I can find it on here.
Yeah, I don't, you know, like I say, I don't know, but I think the citizens expect us to be the checks and balances
That's a good
of
point.
the executive form of government. Executive form of government is pretty powerful as it is.
We'd still be the check on, you know, you still have to confirm folks. You just, what we don't want to do is have a situation of retribution. Let's say that there was a contentious election in the future. It's a wave of a new political party comes in, that they don't turn around and say,
That's government.
Why would you,
Sure,
Good
but-
job working for government.
yeah.
why would you even think that would happen, Josh?
Have you been in the United States before? No. Yeah, I know that they did talk about it. The bigger piece is obviously just trying to make sure that what we had heard from the conversations at this meeting was that when they discussed it, this charter review, is that they want to be able to make sure that they pointed to this as a way to continue to make sure that we have continuity, that we can attract new people to these positions and not feel like they're going to be out 4 years later if they're, you know, moving their families.
Whenever there's a new governor, do they?
Well, as a governor, they live, of course, obviously anywhere in the state, no
Yeah,
problem.
so
But
they're
for the county, they feel
They
like,
confirm their department.
yeah,
heads,
they
okay.
do. Yeah, well, the Senate confirms on
Yeah,
that side.
okay.
So in this case, we're the legislative body to confirm this. What you don't want to do is have somebody move their family here and then be out and feel like they're gonna, or choose not to come here just because they feel like, oh, this politics are too much. Which, if anyone was reading the newspapers at the start of this, 4 years ago, you would have thought this is not a place you want to come and work. So this is a way to provide them more opportunity to.
The biggest issue has always been pay.
Sure, but
It's
for
working in government, that's what happens in government.
Just sometimes I feel too, though, that department heads, they need one boss and not 8.
They do have one boss.
Yeah,
Well, this gives them 8. Every 4 years, they have 8.
We just confirming them. We're not
It's there
telling
for a
them what to
reason.
do. We're just confirming their job.
Confirm it or not confirming it.
Yeah, that's not being a boss. Just confirming them as a position.
If
It's not being a
if
boss.
we say we don't want to confirm them,
Yeah, that's not being a boss. It's just, like Joe said, checks and balances of the government.
all right, we're going to move to 24? We're going to move it to 2024?
yeah, or 22.
The
Coming up on
next election
22.
Yeah.
is
Okay.
2024.
Coming up on 22.
That's right, yeah, I'm sorry.
24?
I got my years mixed up, yeah.
It's getting late.
20, I'm
24.
okay with moving it to 24.
Okay.
I'll go with it.
Just make a note and we'll do it in 2024, or the council then can do it. Not everybody's coming back.
Amendment 10, which is the low, medium council notificated, the county executive shall notify the county council in writing within 10 working days of a vacancy in a position of the director, administration, assistant, or the head of the department or agency or of the executive branch.
kill it.
Move it on to 24?
That gets right back, sort of to the opening statement from the Charter Review Commission. Is like, well, if you're just following the charter and working like you should work, you probably don't need something like that.
I think this was in there because we had a real difficult time being able to, as a county, as a body, as a council body, being able to prove when that term began or did not begin as to when a
Oh,
vacancy.
no, we definitely had the issues, but like I say,
This was in there because we get a phone call and saying, you don't have a department head in this department. And no, we didn't know that. That's one reason that was in there.
We're circling back.
Might be embarrassing, but this should just be better procedure. and I don't think it really is going to make a difference.
How do you suggest that we make this better?
The thing of it is, okay, if we approve it and the executives don't do it, what are you gonna do to them?
Nothing.
Nothing. You don't have any
You can't do anything.
teeth, so you can't do nothing to
You can
them.
censure them.
Censure 'em.
That doesn't matter.
Censure
They get to
Censor him,
court.
yeah.
Yeah,
We-
so
we-
you don't
we-
have anything to do to them.
2024, let's
Take-
go.
take
It's
it
getting
out.
late.
Take it out.
We could do away with the whole charter under that argument. But the idea here is simply to say that I'm hoping as things continue on, that 10 days' notice, any executive will just tell us, hey, this department is low. So let's move it on.
A good
And
executive.
we have
should-
had that in the past few
Yeah.
months, yeah.
All right, we'll move it on.
It's there.
We'll move it on. Okay. Amendment 11, by reason of classification, protection. How many do we have right now?
I only counted the high priority ones.
Amendment 11, general provisions, same suspension or removal. All officers and employees appointed by the county executive may be suspended or removed from office upon written order by the county executive, except that no such suspension or removal may be ordered. Oh, this is legal jargon, right, Mr. Wilbur?
Yes.
I don't understand it. Can you explain?
It's just simply saying that that's replacing because of race, national origin, religion, opinion, and religious affiliation. They're just using the catchphrase by reason of classification protected by state and federal law.
We're trying to
That changes it, they add a,
spread the umbrella out so it covers all these federal and state law classifications.
So what happens if you put it on there and it gets voted down?
Do you want it or don't you? I'm not worried about how they vote. Do you want it or don't
No,
you?
but I mean, that's the that's,
well, it goes back to the original
Because you
language.
still have to
Yeah.
abide by those.
yeah, I know.
Are we looking at 11?
I'm just being facetious there a little bit.
Listen, I would be okay with putting that into 24. It's not going to make or break us. It's something that, it's
And you still have to do it anyway, so.
true, true.
Yeah.
Everybody okay with
Yep.
just leaving it alone here for now? Bill?
Have to address it, but
I think we can maybe skirt it for a couple of years. I don't think anything's going to come down too hard.
I think you're up to 15.
Excuse me?
You're up to 15 right now.
We're up to 15 now, okay. Amendment number 13, which is a medium priority. We are striking the Director of Finance shall be appointed and removed. Was that done because of redundancy?
Yeah, yes, that was a housekeeping.
What did we do on 12?
We approved it. Department of Aviation.
We added Department of
Just
Aviation.
Department of Aviation.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
The 13, and again, this is in the context of trying to keep things to a minimum.
So we're just striking,
Both of these are simply done due to redundancy. I think we could survive for 2 more
Yep.
years
Yep.
and put it into 24. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
yep.
All right.
Fine.
So that moves us down to Amendment 15, Department of Law. And it's striking, it says the sentence reads now, that the county attorney shall serve at the pleasure of the executive. Then it says, and the council. That's what it says now, and the council. The county attorney may be removed. This is the one where we had decided that we would relinquish the county attorney from the oversight and direct authority of the council. Let the county attorney remain in the, under the supervision of the executive, understanding that the council would have its own attorney.
Mr. President, just under the duties and responsibilities, the county attorney would still have the responsibility of reviewing the legislative branch's contracts.
Thank you.
Just for
Right.
clarification.
Yes, this was just simply to strike the authority of the county council to get involved in that and to have the,
well,
County
and
attorney.
I know you say, and with the understanding that the council will have their own attorney, but that's not actually said anywhere.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to mention that.
Yeah, it's under the provision that you can hire experts and things like that.
Yeah, I know that.
It probably should be spelled out then.
It would make sense to have a B there that says the council can do the same.
well, as it is right now, I mean, I get the fact that the county attorney is a very unique role where it serves both branches of government, unlike in most cases, I mean, directly. We can't fire a department head right now, and we can't fire a department head. but as it is now, we can fire the county attorney. This is trying to say that the county attorney is no different than a department head, and it's under the supervision of the executive branch.
I'm fine with that.
We want to leave this on the ballot. Ernie?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay, we'll leave it on. 16, 17, we've already done. Okay, we have a low priority, and that is, well, Amendment 19, we already agreed to that with Lindsay Rader. So would Section 705 and 707, even though you have 707 as a low priority, that would still, isn't that also a recommendation by Lindsay Rader or not?
That one was not a recommendation from Lindsay. That came from the Charter Review Committee. And that was just basically to have the CIP, well, the discussion is whether the CIP should be adopted at the same time as the budget.
Mike?
And there was discussions as far as perhaps we can just change the hearing date of when the CIP is held, because the CIP, I believe, is submitted in December, and then the public hearing is to be held in February. But if you're going to postpone adopting that CIP until the budget, then you might want to change the public hearing date for that CIP to a date closer to June.
Okay, and that's what this change allows.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, since it's wrapped up in Amendment 19, we might as well leave it there because it's already part of a recommendation we've already agreed to do, right? It's not as if it's going to add another, it's going to add more verbiage, but it's not going to be another item that has to be voted on. It would be put together as one amendment together with Section 705.
The difference there, though, is that I think all of Lindsay Rader's will be grouped together, whereas this one's not a Lindsay Rader one, so that's why it was kind of put in a different category.
But it's categorized as Amendment 19.
True. But low.
Would it be on the ballot as Amendment 19?
If we put it all, these are mixed, this is mixed in with the Raider ones.
Would it be included, or would we have to separate it?
I think,
You're saying it's mixed in with the Raiders one, you're saying it's not.
Right.
Well, if you read it, it says Amendment 19.
He's saying it's mixed in with the Lindsay Rader one because the section 705, which
Yep.
is right above it, they both fall, I believe, under the same article. And they pertain to the budget.
yep. You got it.
So on the ballot, Mr. Wilbur, will it be one amendment, or will there be two different questions subjected to the voter?
What I was thinking was to have subparts.
Okay,
I
so
realize if
it
you're-
would be another,
So
ballot.
if you were dissatisfied with one of the subparts, then I guess you would vote no on the ballot question. Otherwise, we're going to break this down into many, many little questions.
so, and then I'm guessing then you're suggesting that we're going to try to keep together.
That's the way I'm looking at it.
Okay. Is everybody okay with leaving it in? On the, Joe?
Yep.
Okay. All right, we have one last one, and maybe we've already done this one. Amendment 24, the word, we haven't done this one. The word county commissioners shall mean the county council whenever state confers a power upon language. So this is definitely a housekeeping measure where we're trying to remove the commissioner reference in place of the
It
council.
could go to 2024 if you wanted to just stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one I raised the issue about. The number 7 is fine, but the number 1, I think the reason the county commissioner's in there is for what they passed prior to there being a council.
Yeah.
So from that date forward, commissioners and council would be the same, but if there's an existing statute, I'm sure there are, ordinance or bill, I'd have to see exactly what it means, but.
It says in number 6, it has county commissioners
6.
Somebody,
under the word law.
Is it possible, by the way, just, shooting off, is it possible that we could give ourselves the authority, let's say theoretically we had Amendment 25 or whatever that was proposed, where the county council could approve amendments to the charter without going, that are strictly related to clerical, is there anything like that we could do? Something like that was, so that we could fix some of the language without having to constantly go back to the voters. Is there a way that we could put that on the ballot to give ourselves authority to do that?
The state law doesn't speak to that. And the charter amendments are controlled by state law. Yeah.
Well, what surprises me, Mr. Wilbur, is when we changed to the executive and legislative form of government, what did they do? Did they put the entire charter on the ballot? Did they print the entire charter in the
I would say they would have.
I think they do.
We'd have to go back and check it, but
It'd be nice to know. I'd like to know. It couldn't have been an easy
I think they put it
undertaking.
in there to change to the form of government, because ever since that happened, first, when the county executive form of government came into being, it was voted in '02, but it came into being in '06. I mean, we've been doing corrections in this charter ever since, and some of them didn't require amendments. Referendum. Some of them was just language, not necessarily in the charter, I guess, but in more any parts of our government,
the code,
Code.
it's all here within the county. Charter, we have to look at state law.
Yeah, I think what they do in that instance is they have on the ballot, do you want to change the form of government? And there's a yes or no. If it passes, then they study how it's going to be changed. But when it actually, the charter comes up, I think it's on the ballot in some form, even if it's very, very brief.
Like,
The Board of Elections has to know, right? They have to have it in their archives somewhere.
yeah, we should be able to dig it out in the
Maybe we
county.
could find out. That'd be nice. I'm just curious.
Just curious.
So, but for our purposes here, we're moving this to 24, correct?
And if I could revisit that one question about that. See, in 5, it says, the word law shall be construed as including all acts, ordinance, et cetera. It talks about the council. And then it says, all ordinance resolutions of the county commissioners not hereby or hereafter amended or repealed, and it just says they're still law. So that's why the commissioners is in that definition. To say that what they did before there was a council still exists unless it's been changed.
We should keep it.
Well, unless you put, henceforth or something like that, or you said,
I think we could leave it out and still stay with the language that you would.
right, I think that language does it.
All right, 24 and beyond, right? Okay. All right, well, that concludes the charter review. Is there anything we're leaving out that we need to address right now and to follow up with?
No, so what we'll do is put all this in resolution form and then have that ready for your consideration at the next meeting.
And it's 17.
17, yes.
Great, and again, thank you very much for your hard work in putting
Gonna
this
put
in
me to
some
work
type,
here.
some type of common sense form.
Thank you, Mr. Wilbur.
You're welcome.
By the way, I just want to say that it is positive that we all took steps. That, we may not get enough credit. There's a lot of folks saying there's a lot of executive and legislative branch discord, by going through some of these, the legislative branch, the legislative branch is giving up some authority and moving it over in different ways in some of these. So it's a positive thing that this is your government at play. I think it's, no one's really probably even going to notice, but this is actually a really positive step, and I commend all of you all for the work you put into it, in addition to the review committee.
And I know the chair of the Charter Review Committee is sick, so he would have liked to come tonight, but he was not feeling well, so that's why he is not here.
We need to send him a really big thank you card.
Right, they worked hard.
Get well and thank you card.
Oh, Mr. Dunn, yeah.
All right,
Okay.
entertain a motion
Thank you.
to adjourn from the open work session to go into closed session. Second.
Second.
Mr. President.